Shalom, everybody. Welcome to this week's Journey Through Torah. This week we are in Parsha Yitro, talking about Jethro, Moshe's father-in-law. We look at Israel has already come out of Mitzrayim. They've already been brought through the sea. Here they are. They're at the mountain, and Yitro comes out to meet Moshe because he has heard about all the great things that Yahweh has done for Israel, which we could talk about. We're not going there today, but that's an amazing thing in and of itself, is that everybody heard what Yahweh did in Mitzrayim. Everybody heard what he did to deliver and redeem his people, but not everybody responded. See, and so that's an amazing thing. Yitro came out to meet Moshe to testify of all these wondrous things. He says, I want to hear it from you. I heard all these things that happened, but you tell me about it. You were there. I want to experience these things. And guys, that's one of the things with our lives. When we come to Yahweh, we experience him in a different way. The world may not understand it, but are we living our lives in such a way that people are coming to you to seek the testimony of Yahweh? See, that's an amazing thing, because our lives are a representation of Yahweh dwelling in us and living in us, and his word being written on our hearts. That's what we're kind of going to talk about today. Okay, so we start in Exodus 18. Yitro has come out to Moshe, and then we find that so all the people have issues. Amazing, isn't it? They just come out of Mitzrayim, and all of these people, you would think, could just be like, okay, yes, here we are. This is amazing. We're following, and we're going to learn from Yahweh. All these things. It's phenomenal, right? But here we are. They come out. Moshe is having to spend all day long sitting here to try to solve issues between people, to try to solve, and we're not told exactly what all the issues are. We're not told exactly what happens here, but yet it says that people come to me and they're seeking Yahweh's words and advice, and I judge between the two. It's not just about coming to see what Yahweh says, but they're wanting some kind of decisions between them. All right. In other words, they're not agreeing. Okay, they're not getting along on some issues, and here they are. They just were delivered, redeemed, brought out, and they can't get along. This just happened. Let's be real, guys. It's no different than us today. If we are not careful, we can allow the circumstances in daily life and the things with relationships and one another and the people around us to distract us from what Yahweh really has in store for us. Because the people could not advance as long as they were sitting here with Moshe to try to solve disputes, to try to solve problems and solve things. So something has to happen here. All right. The heart of the people have to be set towards Yahweh, and Moshe has to tell the people what Yahweh is saying. Remember, it's not written at this point, right? So they have to hear and walk in the things that they're hearing. In other words, it's just not just to hear it, but they have to literally experience these things. And that's where we're at today. We hear the word of Yahweh, that we walk in the word of Yahweh. It's not just something to hear, not just something to observe, but we need to experience and live these things in our lives day by day, today. All right. So what are the things we're supposed to do? How are we supposed to live? We read in the scripture, it says, if we walk in light as he is in the light, we have fellowship with one another, and turn him, but yet we're also to walk as he walked. So how do we do that? How do we learn that? Okay, it's like we've been redeemed, now what? And it's not just like you've been redeemed, great, now go do your thing. No, you've been redeemed, now we need to enter a path of discipleship. Now we need to learn what Yahweh is desiring for us. We need to learn his heart, and we need to learn to walk in his ways. All right. That's where we're at. We're going to go to Exodus 18, verses 13 to 16. It says, so the next day Moshe sat to judge the people, and they stood around Moses from morning till evening. When Moshe's father-in-law saw all he did for the people, he said, what's this you're doing to the people? Why sit by yourself alone with all the people standing around from morning till evening? Moshe answered his father-in-law, it's because the people come to me to inquire of God. Notice they're not coming to inquire of what Moshe says. They want to know what Yahweh says, and they're coming to Moshe to figure it out. It says, when they have an issue, it comes to me, and I judge between a man and his neighbor. Now, look at that. When there's an issue, they're seeking the word of Yahweh. And when there's an issue, they come to me, and then I make a judgment, and I do so by what? He says, I make them understand God's statutes and his laws. They want the word of Yahweh, and that's what Moshe is giving them. He says, I cause them to understand his statutes and his laws. Now, interesting, because here we're going to break this down. Read in the Hebrew, it's Vehodati et hukai ha-Elohim ve'et Toratav. So to understand is the first thing we're going to look at. What does it mean to understand something? Understand is the word yada. It's also translated as to know. In many different aspects of to know, but it's not a casual acquaintance. Okay, this is an intimate knowing. To know something can also be translated as to discern. To know and to discern something, much like we see in Ezekiel 44, where it says, and they shall teach my people the difference between the holy and the profane, and cause them to discern between the unclean and the clean, cause them to know the difference between the unclean and the clean. So this was the job of the Levi'im, right? So this is what Moshe was to do, which, by the way, if you didn't know or wasn't aware, Moshe was a Levite, okay? And so Aaron, his brother, Cohen, right? All this. So the responsibility of the Levi'im were to teach the word of Yahweh to the people, okay? And this is, again, following what Yahweh told Moshe, what Yitro told Moshe, and Yahweh says, yeah, that's what we're doing, right? So he says, you teach the people, you cause them to know what Yahweh is saying. You cause them to know his word. And that was what they have to teach. Here's the thing. You can't teach what you don't know. So it is up to those who teach to have a responsibility to dig in, to know not just the word, but to know the one who gave it. We need to know Yahweh, because without that, you're not going to know his heart. You're not going to know his intent. You're not going to know the spirit behind what was given. And we need his presence. We need the Ruach Elohim to help explain these things that may be out of context to us. So we rely on him, and we have to be teachable along the way as well, because we have to be taught his ways, right? We need to learn, get on and on and on. And so Yeshua, as an example, said that he caused the people to know him. And that's what we're talking about. Not just to know the word, but to know the one who gave the word, so that we can properly hear the word. We're not going to hear it if we don't know the one who gave it, because that's the trust, that's the hope, that's the faith, and that's the authority speaking into our life that he is Yahweh. He created us, he redeemed us, therefore I submit my life to him. What does he say for me, right? And that's what Yeshua says. I have caused Yahweh to be made known among the people. We see in John 17:25 and 26, it says, righteous Father, the world did not know you, but I knew you, and these knew that you sent me, and I made your name known to them, and I will continue to make it known, so that the love with which you loved me might be in them, and I in them. And John 8:31 and 32 says, Yeshua said to the Judeans who had trusted him, if you abide in my word, then you are truly my disciples. You will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. You may have heard the phrase, the truth will set you free. That's only the last part of that. There's something that has to happen before you even get there. First off, he says, if you abide in my word, that means know the word. That means get into it. That means read it. That means study it. That means pray so that you can know the ruach behind the words that are given. Abide in my word. Then you're my disciples. The word disciple is talmid, which means student. So he says, if you abide in my word, then you are my student, and then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. See, the truth won't set you free if you don't know it. You have to know the truth. You have to know the word, and learn to discern the word and discern the things that are going on around you. Do this, and you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Okay? If we don't study the word, then we have a lot of things like we hear today. Oh, my truth? No, there is no my truth. Okay, it may be something you completely wholeheartedly believe, but there is only one truth, and that is the eternal Elohim and his word. He is one with his word. It is all him. Okay, so statutes. That's the next word we're going to look at. Statutes is hok et hukai. Another thing for statute, hok can also mean to engrave or imprint, which is important when we look at some things. Like in Ezekiel 36:24 to 27, we read, For I will take you from the nations, gather you out of all the countries, and bring you back to your own land. Then I will sprinkle clean water on you, and you will be clean from all your uncleanness and from all your idols. Moreover, I will give you a new heart, and I will put a new spirit within you. I will remove the stony heart from your flesh and give you a heart of flesh. And I will put my ruach within you, and I will cause you to walk in my laws. Behukai. I will cause you to walk in my laws, and you will keep my rulings and do them. Yahweh tells us, when I gather you, when I bring you out of all the nations where you are, and I bring you to myself, I will put my spirit in you and cause you to walk in my word. See, he does not equip us by his ruach to walk contrary to his word. He does not give us his holy presence, does not give us of the Ruach HaKodesh, does not give us these things so that we can walk contradictory to what he said. He gives us this so that we can walk in that which he has given us, to equip us to walk in this life and to walk according to his word, not against it. Okay? So again, we read back to 18:16, it says, I make them know the statutes and God's laws. And we read, Et hukai ha-Elohim va'et torotav. Hok is from the root hakach, which means to engrave or imprint, to decree something, to inscribe or enact it. You engrave it and decree it, right? So here's something to keep in mind. We are engraved on each other and his word on our hearts and our names on his hands. We are engraved in each other when we are in a place of covenant. When he engraves his word in our hearts of stone, gives us back a heart of flesh, gives us back of his presence, we are engraved by his word. And in so doing, he says that we are engraved on his hands. In other words, we are ever before him. Ezekiel 11:19-20 says, and I will give them one heart and new spirit, and I will put within them will remove the heart of stone from their flesh, give them a heart of flesh, that they may walk in my statutes, keep my rules, and obey them. And they shall be my people, and I will be their God. In Isaiah 49:16, it says, behold, I have engraved you on the palms of my hands. Your walls are continually before me. Interesting, too, because like Yeshua with the spikes through his hands, right? So it's just another thing there. The word for laws, guess what the word for laws is? Torah. Yep, you got it. Torah. We need to have the Torah within us so that we can give it when it's needed. You know, Yahweh's instructions for life, Yahweh's word, his eternal word that was given to us to learn from, to walk in, the words that are engraved within us. And we have to discern the differences between our ways and the ways of the world and his ways, right? We have to just learn to discern these things. And if we are going to walk equipped, then we need to know what we're equipped in. Now, I'm not saying you have to know the answers to everything, but we have to be willing to search out the word of Yahweh for the answers and not rely on ourselves for those things. Okay. Malachi 2:7 says, a Kohen's lips should safeguard knowledge, and people should seek Torah from his mouth because he is the messenger of Yahweh Tzavaot. So if we are a messenger of Yahweh, say we're a messenger, then we should have the Torah on our lips. If it's on our lips, it means it's inscribed in our heart. So someone comes to you and they're saying they're a messenger sent from God. What's the word they're proclaiming? Okay. It cannot contradict his word, right? A lot of times, people will say they're messengers sent from Yahweh. Maybe they are, maybe they're not. How do you know the difference? You discern the things that are being said. It's not just about by the actions or signs, wonders, and miracles, which we've learned from Deuteronomy 13, right? It's not about the supernatural, because there can be supernatural acts and effects by people who are not submitted to Yahweh. But it's the word that they proclaim. What is being done here? They should seek Torah from the messenger of Yahweh. And as well in Isaiah chapter 8, it's verse 16, it says, bind up the testimony, seal the Torah within my disciples. If we are a disciple of Yahweh, then we need to have his Torah within us. It is important to know the word of Yahweh. And I put it this way, is it really important to know the Chok and Torah? I mean, it's we can just know some things about the word, know some stories, but do we really need to know the Chok and the Torah that is given there? What's the importance? Yeah, it is. because this is the word that Yahweh gave his people when he said, I'm going to come down there and I'm going to meet with you. I'm going to give you my heart. I'm going to show you what that is. And he gave them the Torah. He gave them words for life, and he gave them a mode of conduct. This is how you are to live your lives so that I will bless you wherever you go. And it's not doing the things to be redeemed. Don't forget, when they were at the mountain, when they came out of Mitzrayim, that was the act of redemption. When they came out, that was redeemed. And they are now receiving his word to equip them to go into the promise and to walk forward in their life so that he can bless them and all the things that they're doing. Furthermore, if we don't know the heart of Yahweh, we can't walk in it. How can we say, Yahweh, I love you, if we don't know what he loves? How can we say, I'm going to follow you, if we don't know where he's going? You know, we need to get in the word to discern this. And further, what did Yeshua teach from? He taught from the Tanakh. He taught from the Torah, the prophets, and the writings. These are the things that Yeshua expounded on. He didn't bring brand new teachings. He taught from these things and just made them easier for them to understand. He explained these things in a way where they got it. You know, he didn't contradict it. He explained it, and then he lived it, right? We see in Deuteronomy 10, 12, and 13, it says, so now, Israel, what does Adonai your God require of you? But to fear Adonai your God, to walk in all his ways, to love him, to serve Adonai your God with all your heart and with all your soul, to keep the mitzvot of Adonai and his statutes that I am commanding you today for your own good. See that? Why do we keep the word of Yahweh? It's for your own good, for your own safety, for your own protection, for the development of your heart, of your character, and of your spirit and your soul. It's for development of you to learn his ways so that we can walk in it. Isaiah 5, 20 and 21 says, woe to those who call evil good and good evil, who put darkness for light and light for darkness, who put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. Woe to those who are wise in their own eyes and shrewd in their own sight. How can you say woe to those who call evil good and good evil if we don't know what good and evil is? If we don't know what the word of Yahweh is explaining, what are his ways and what are the ways of the world? What are the ways of our own soulish nature? You know, the ways of the flesh. What are these ways? If we do not discern these things, how will we know them? If we don't know them, we will ultimately at some point call good evil and evil good. And we don't want to be involved in that. So we have to learn his ways so that we can see this. Matter of fact, we do not want to be lawless ones, right? 2 Corinthians 2, 9 and 10 says, the coming of the lawless one is by the activity of Satan with all power and false signs and wonders, and with all wicked deception for those who are perishing. Because, why? They refuse to love the truth and so be saved. It says that people refuse to love the truth, so they allow lawlessness to rule and reign in their midst. We don't want to be those people, right? Hosea 4:6 says, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Since you rejected knowledge, and by the way, this is not just a book knowledge. This is not just knowing a lot of things. This is experiential knowledge. This is to know Yahweh and his ways and to walk with him. Okay? This is not just about, well, I know more than you and I can quote more than you and I'm better theology than you. That's not it at all. Okay? This is about pursuing the heart of Yahweh and to know him and then learning to walk in his ways. So my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. And it says, since you rejected knowledge, I will also reject you from being my Cohen. Now look at this. Since you forgot the Torah of your God, I will forget your children. See, and so what he says, it's important to know what? To know the heart of Yahweh. It's important to know his Torah because we need to teach it to our children so that our children walk in his ways. That's why it says, if we're not teaching our children the word of Yahweh, they won't know it. And if they don't know it, they won't walk in it. And if they won't walk in it, then where's the covenant? Where's the life? Where's the blessings, right? So again, it's important to know the word of Yahweh. Isaiah 24, 4-6 says, the earth mourns and withers, the world languishes and withers, the highest people of the earth languish, the earth lies defiled under its inhabitants. Why? What caused all of these cursings and all these things to come in? It says they have transgressed the Torah, violated the Hok, and broken the everlasting covenant, the Brit Olam. Therefore, a curse devours the earth, and its inhabitants suffer for their guilt. Therefore, the inhabitants of the earth are scorched, and few men are left. Because the people walked away from the word of Yahweh, there's consequences for that, and we don't like that. We don't want to be there. We don't want to walk in the consequences of a curse. We want to walk in the life of blessing that Yahweh has for us. And in order to do that, we need to walk in His Word. Now, thank Yah for His grace and His mercy. And if we fail, we have an advocate who goes to the Father for us. But it doesn't mean that we do not seek Him and His ways. It means we seek Him, we learn. When we mess up, we repent, but we keep walking with Him, right? If we're not, then we're going to keep our hearts hard and not allow the word of Yahweh to be written on our hearts. We're not going to walk in it, right? I heard it said this way too. When Yahweh came down to give the Torah to His people, He desired to write it on their hearts, but the hearts were too hard, so He wrote it on tablets of stone instead. Wow, that's a pretty amazing statement, right? Or do we want the words written on stone, or do we want the words written on our heart? See, because it's always been the desire of Yahweh to write His word on our heart. It's always been about relationship. It's always about Yahweh dwelling inside of you. This is what He desired from the very beginning. This is what He desired throughout the Torah, throughout the Tanakh, throughout the prophets, throughout the writings, and in the parasha as well. We see in Hebrews 8:10-12, it says, "For this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, declares Yahweh. I will put my laws in their minds, write them on their hearts, and I will be their God, and they will be my people. And they will not teach each one his neighbor and each one his brother, saying, Know the Lord, for they shall all know me, from the least of them to the greatest. For I will be merciful toward their iniquities, and I will remember their sins no more." That's amazing, isn't it? Right? But guys, do you understand this New Testament thing that's being quoted about here in Hebrews is actually quoting from Jeremiah 31 that talks about this new covenant that we're supposed to have. And it's not changing covenant. It's changing you. Look, Jeremiah 31, verse 31-34. "Behold, the days are coming, declares Yahweh, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah." First, understand who this new covenant's with, right? "Not like the covenant that I made with their fathers on the day when I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt, my covenant that they broke, though I was their husband, declares Yahweh." Verse 33, "For this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, declares Yahweh." What is it? "I will put my law in them, write it on their hearts. I will be their God, and they shall be my people. And no longer shall each one teach his neighbor and each his brother, saying, Know Yahweh, for they shall all know me, from the least of them to the greatest, declares Yahweh. For I will forgive their iniquity and remember their sin no more." See, so what changes? Does the Torah change? No. Does the word change? No. What changes? You, your heart. That which was written on stone now becomes written on you in your heart. You become a living word. We see in 2 Corinthians 3:3, it says, "It's clear that you are a letter from Messiah delivered by us, written not with ink, but with the Ruach of the living God, not on a tablet of stone, but on the tablets of human hearts." You are a letter written from Yahweh with His eternal word inscribed within you. So how do we get it? Well, we have to read it. We have to be taught it. We have to talk about it. We've got to learn it. We've got to discern it. We've got to follow His Ruach. All of these things are necessary. See, Moshe was instructed to continue to teach the people the Hukim and the Torah, to teach them these things. And the word teach that's used here is vahizharta, which means to illuminate, to cast light upon. He says you are to cast light upon the Hukim and the Torah. You are to cast light upon the word of Yahweh. You are to cast light upon these things. What do we know about this? Psalm 119, 105 says, "Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path." Psalm 119, 130 says, "The unfolding of your words gives light, giving understanding to the simple." In Isaiah 8:20, it says, "To the Torah and the testimony, if they do not speak according to this words, because they have no light." Again, it is the word of Yahweh is light for us. And this is what it said to teach, is to cast light upon. We're to use the word of Yahweh to cast light upon our lives and to help change us and help change those around us, right? And then further, especially when you understand who is the light, Yeshua, right? 1 John 1:5 says, "This is the message we have heard from Him and announced to you. God is light, and in Him there is no darkness at all." And John 1, 4, and 5 says, in him was life, and the life was the light of men. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overpowered it. In John 8, 12, it says, Yeshua spoke again, saying, I am the light of the world, and the one who follows me will no longer walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. Isaiah 2:5 says, come, house of Jacob, let us walk in the light of Adonai. 1 John 1:7 says, if we walk in the light as he himself is in the light, we have fellowship with one another, and the blood of his son Yeshua purifies us from all sin. Ephesians 5:8 and 9 says, for once you were darkness. It does not say you were in darkness. It says you were darkness. But now in union with the Lord, you are light. Walk as children of light. For the fruit of light is in all goodness and righteousness and truth. So we have light and goodness and righteousness and truth all working together, and all examples of the word of Yahweh. And then further, we see in Matthew 5:14 and 19, you are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a basket. Instead, they put it on a lampstand so it gives light to all in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before men so that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. So how do we do that? Keep reading. Verse 17. Don't think that I come to abolish the Torah or the prophets. I did not come to abolish, but to fulfill. Verse 18. Amen, I tell you, until heaven and earth pass, not the smallest letter or serif shall pass away from the Torah till all things come to pass. Therefore, whoever breaks one of the least of these commandments and teaches others the same shall be called least in the kingdom of heaven. But whoever keeps and teaches them, this one shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven. How do we let our light shine? By walking in the word of Yahweh, because the word of Yahweh is light. Yeshua is the word. He is light. None of these things contradict each other, and they all work together. So as we come to him, let us receive his presence, receive his light, receive his word, and not walk contradictory or contrary to what he has given us. Let us fully learn to walk in spirit and truth and walk in everything that he has desired for us. Amen. Okay, guys, that's all I have for you today this time, and I pray this has been an encouragement and a blessing to you. If this has been a blessing to you, then please share it. Help get the word out there, help get these teachings out, however you watch or listen, and please share to help get this moving out there. And if this has blessed you, then please consider making a donation to help us continue putting these teachings out. Everything involved does cost us something, so please help consider that to help keep things moving along, okay? So guys, until next time, be blessed and be a blessing. Shalom.